Heard on Thursdays with Nikki is about to go live online. Catch H.O.T, the iconic radio show that made Philippine FM radio talk, every Thursday on the Monster. Streaming video on the Monster Facebook page at RX931, the Monster YouTube channel at RX931, and twitch.tv/Monster RX931. You heard on Thursday's host, Nikki Porter. Stand by and enjoy the program.
Hey, good evening, monsters. You got me, Nikki Porter, Nikki Porter, with you for the iconic radio show that made FM radio talk. Heard on Thursdays only on Manila's hottest, Monster RX93.1. Now, we're not in the love month anymore, but doesn't mean that we can't talk a little bit about it. Doesn't mean that we can't tackle on what is new, what is current in the dating sphere. Considering it is alert level 1 as well, I think it's a good thing to kind of touch on, take a bit of a refresher course as well. What it's like to date in person. Maybe we've been doing it online for so long that we forgot what it's like to actually communicate with people who are in front of us. So in the 21st century, of course, people choose whom they love and whom they'll stay with for a long, long time, if not for the rest of their lives. And in previous times, it wasn't always the case. Like in certain cultures and communities, there was the figure in society called the matchmaker, who arranged romantic relationships and marriages between others. Well, in modern times, you might be surprised to know that matchmakers still exist. And we have one such professional on our show tonight. She is a U.S. certified matchmaker of the Matchmaking Institute of New York City. Yes, there is such a place, monsters. She is also a science-based dating coach who coaches singles on topics like the science of flirting, how to ace online dating, how to be more attractive to the opposite gender, the best dating mindsets to find the one, and many more. She is also the founder of Singles Events Manila, organizer of some of the biggest gatherings for singles, both offline and online. Yes, monsters, apparently there is a science to dating, which means you and I, me especially, have a lot to learn from tonight's episode. Heard on Thursdays, certified matchmaker and dating coach, Vanessa V. Antonio. Welcome to the show. Hello.
Hi, Nikki. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here.
Hi. Oh my gosh. It is such a pleasure to have you over here. And I am ready. I am taking notes. And I am ready to learn and try and be my best self in this new age of dating. So let's, before we actually get into the meat of the show, I want to know, as we come out of the pandemic, what have you been up to during the lockdowns that isn't necessarily in relation to being a dating coach, to matchmaking? What is your latest binge or latest hobby that you've learned?
Right. So during the pandemic, I was in the United States. So I have been in my house for straight 1 year. Didn't really go out because I'm really thinking about the virus that we're in. But during the time, even if I try to think about not being a dating coach or a matchmaker, I remember just doing like shows, interviews, and a lot of coaching during the pandemic. Because even if you know, like there has been restriction to meet physically, the need for love and connection for a lot of people was really getting stronger that time. So we were looking for ways to make them connect. So I was very active in the dating industry. But if I think outside of dating, I think I was trying to watch what was I watching? Oh, because I'm a fan of a lot of reality shows when it comes to dating.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I was watching that the whole time and learning from the
Alright.
people as well.
Have you also caught up with the Tinder swindler?
Okay, so I've been hearing about that Netflix show right now, and in fact, there has been a lot of references in my previous interviews about that. But
Hmm.
I have not watched the show. I am very interested because I have been hearing and receiving questions about the movie.
Yeah, and it's just it kind of opens your eyes on just how dangerous online dating can be. I mean, dating itself can be a risk, like meeting someone, but online dating just takes it to another level.
It's true. So I remember, I think that was a few months ago when I was giving a talk to a university with full of students, and
Wow.
I was tasked to actually tell them what are the risks in online dating, and I was telling them, you know what, honestly, the risks more than the benefit is higher when you do online dating. But just
Wow.
like binge watching, just like drinking soft drinks, just like drinking alcohol, we know it's bad for us, but
Mhm.
we still do it, so we might as well learn how to manage it.
That is true. That is so true. And a lot of people are raring to go out dating again. It's alert level 1. So slowly but surely, the dating scene is going to get active, or it already is. So you mentioned during the height of the pandemic, or while we were in the thick of it,
Hmm.
the dating scene was pretty active. A lot of people still wanted to meet people. I guess for the well, I want to know those. Like, what was the purpose of them meeting other people, at least online? Was it just to find someone to talk to? What were the reasons?
So during the pandemic, it's not just singles who have felt this, but almost every one of us, we felt isolated from our family, from our friends.
Mhm.
And studies have shown that, social network is a big chunk of the longevity, like how long will you live? And so you will become happier or lonelier in life depending on the kind of social network that you have. So even if we have the pandemic ongoing and we are prioritizing our basic needs, we still couldn't stop ourselves from connecting from people. So there has been studies wherein, like for example, I think that was Hinge or Bumble who conducted a study, and they were able to see a soar in downloads of dating apps. So we were
Mm.
actually kind of expecting that. But I think that's a very good question. What was the purpose?
Mhm.
On what I've heard and based on my experience, it does not necessarily mean that they're looking for like a romantic partner, but they just really want to have someone to talk to and have someone to share the tension and the worries with during the height of the pandemic.
Right. That's so true. And I've seen some stories, and I think I've seen that study as well. I think it was Bumble that did conduct that research and see what were the reasons and the, I guess, triggers why people wanted to try and communicate through online dating apps. Now, let's talk though about like your matchmaking profession. So matchmakers exist in different cultures, but what drew you to not only practice matchmaking but even become certified to be one?
All right. So, Nikki, all this started because I'm just a single person back in 2014, and I was already 24 years old that time. And I was like, oh my gosh, is it because of my grandma? That's why I'm not having a significant other? Because my grandma said, like, you have to graduate, you have to have work, you have to finish your master's. All that happened, and I didn't really have, like, a significant other. And then that actually brought me to research and realize that in the Philippines, if you want to meet single professionals, where will you go? Like, would you
Mhm.
want to meet someone in the bar? Would you want to meet someone and they say in funerals, and they say it's a good way to meet like singles because the emotions are high, right? But I didn't want to go through all that. And I've experienced speed dating, but when me and my friends went through that as well, we felt like there's kulang, there's something missing. We want to be able to connect with them genuinely. And
Mm-mm.
so
True.
that brought us to start Singles Events Manila, wherein when we gather single professionals, we just play games. We want to see who's patient. We want to see who's gentleman. We want to see who's very competitive when it comes to games, and we get to connect with people. Remember when you go on your team building, after the team building, you feel so closer to each other. So that's what happened.
Oh, so matchmaking, it came along with the plan of you wanting to hold or have an organization that organized speed dating or singles at least to meet up in in a safe space as well. So that became one of your requirements, or did you want that to be like you wanted to be certified in it so that you know where you're coming from. You know what the pain points are in dating.
So we ran Singles Events Manila for 3 years. I wasn't certified. I wasn't really um, thinking about being like a certified matchmaker, but like all I've observed when I was taking my master's, every time we are given like a paper, like you have to do a paper, I see myself doing papers and experiments on dating. So it has been consistent. And my professors was like, you know what? That's not very common in sociology that you're doing experiments on dating. So that got me to a realization that maybe since we're already organizing Singles Events Manila and I keep on seeing my interest, it always ends up in dating, love, or relationship. Why don't I take this seriously? So I started Googling, is there a school for matchmaking? And then I saw the one in New York. But during that time, I didn't have any ideas. How can I go to New York? How can I study in this school? So it was crazy. I didn't really think that I will be able to study, but lo and behold, after I think 2 to 3 years, I've had the opportunity to work in the United States, and so I've studied in Matchmaking Institute, where I've met a lot of matchmakers based in the United States, and I was wondering how come there's no certified matchmaker serving the Philippines.
Right. That's so true. Because you're the first person I've ever heard of who's a certified matchmaker, like at all. And so, for the monsters who are tuned in, you are tuned in to Heard on Thursdays with me, Nikki, and my guest for tonight, Vanessa or V Antonio, who is a science-based dating coach and a U.S. certified matchmaker. She got her certification for being a matchmaker at the Matchmaking Institute in New York City. Yes, it exists. So now that also begs the question, what was the program like? Did you have like practical exams about like how to set people up? Tell us about it. It's so cool.
So so basically, this short program, they actually introduce you to other matchmakers. So I've been my classmates were matchmakers from Europe, from other parts of the world, and basically our goal is how can we strengthen our matchmaking skills? How can
Mhm.
we make better matches, right? And so, Matchmaking Institute, it's a relationship sciences school. And so more than, like sometimes you meet matchmakers wherein they match based on their intuition, some
Mm.
based on art. But we do believe that, there's no better person to learn about um, singles or dating, but from the experts. Who are these experts? These are the psychologists, the sociologists, because they are the people who are studying human behaviors. And so
Mm.
we've studied a little bit about that. Also, the processes. How do you listen to your clients? How do you understand who they want? Do you always give them who they want, or do you suggest who do you think is a better fit for them? So all those details, and of course, being able to collaborate with other matchmakers. If I couldn't find matches for you, I have a group of matchmakers who could actually help me find someone for you as well.
Because it takes a village sometimes, I
Oh
think,
gosh,
to
yes,
find a proper match. So,
that's true.
and what sort of information actually, if I may ask, do you look for? What's the basic information you usually ask for when you're setting up a match?
So usually before we take in a client, I mean, it would be easier for matchmakers if the client have already the basics. Like what are the examples of basic? Of course, the client knows self-care, like they know how to, package themselves, how to, be marketable in dating. But if they don't want, the beauty of matchmaking is you also have dating coaches wherein um, if we think that there's a gap or there's a loophole, like maybe like we can tweak a little bit, tweak something, and that will actually increase your chance of finding the one. Then we help them through coaching. So basically, they have to have the basic one. Next is their wants and preferences has to be realistic, because we've encountered this a lot of times, especially
Yeah.
with men, like like who have this like good looking smart man, but when they're looking for a model or a beauty queen, and I was like, maybe that's possible for you, but if you wanna meet those kinds of ladies, you also have to improve yourself. You also have to be on that kind of level, because based on studies, we've seen people who are getting together. These are the people who are kind of similar in terms of lifestyle, in terms of
Okay.
values, like how they spend money or how they look at money, social circles, social value. I mean, like if you are an 8, you are likely to end up with someone who's an 7 or 9. You're not going to go for someone who's a 4. So this is actually based on matching hypothesis. One of the theories that we use when we match make people. So there's a lot of considerations, but yeah, being realistic should be there too.
For sure. And I know there's a lot of us actually, even like for myself, I used to have a list of standards, like what I wanted in a man. But then, of course, you grow up and see, I don't know. I think they're just in rom coms, right?
Mhm.
So you narrow down. But anyway, when it comes to matchmaking, also, who are the types of clients that you receive? Do you usually get like professionals? You get students, or are there people who are like just uh, so desperate to want to be in a relationship? What's the type of clients you get?
All right. So I do matchmaking in the US and in the Philippines. And so since the Philippines I feel is not yet ready when it comes to matchmaking, because diba, we've heard like we have a lot of stigma yet. There's like, why would you outsource your love life? But in the United States it's very common. And so we serve clients from the US, from Europe, from UAE as well. We also have a few in the Philippines, but of course, matchmaking is a luxury service. It's not like a basic necessity service, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
instead of doing matchmaking services in the Philippines, what we're doing right now is we're doing social clubs wherein we bring together a group of single professionals. The membership fee is very, very cheap compared to what we charge with our US clients. But during that time, they get to pick the single person themselves and what profile. These are people who have been. We have lawyers, we have doctors. They are doing very well professionally, but these are the people who did not prioritize dating prior to join in.
Okay.
So some
Mm-hmm.
of them are just deciding to re-enter the dating scene. Some of them wants to learn about dating, and some of them, of course, they feel ready to be with a significant other, but like just like me before, I don't know what's wrong. How come my prince charming is not yet coming?
Right.
So there's a lot of reason. But most importantly, what Singles Events Manila is doing is we're trying to change the stigma that only people who joins like dating events are desperate, because the truth is you are joining events because we want to see your options. You want to be able to choose. And I feel like that's a smarter way to go about your love life than just waiting who will come. I mean, what if you don't like the person who's courting you? Then you're stuck
Yeah,
forever.
that is
Right.
true. And so you're using social clubs now, which I think is really cool as well, because it makes it less awkward, I guess, when you're meeting someone you've never met before. So in terms of modern matchmaking, which is what you're doing, and traditional matchmaking, which is like what some cultures have, what are the similarities and the differences from modern matchmaking to the traditional kind?
So the traditional matchmaking that I've heard, these are the matchmakers where who parents hired for their children, like almost close to being arranged marriages.
Hmm.
So usually, and we've heard of a lot of stories wherein marriages were like transactional, made out of businesses. But right now, the matchmaking that we're doing, we're really trying to serve the person who wants to fall in love, not serving their parents, not
Yes.
serving their aunt. So it has to be your decision to outsource that. I'm using the term outsource because for those who are not yet familiar with matchmakers, we basically do the legwork for you. Imagine if you wanna have like a vice president, you hire a headhunter. If I'm a
Hmm.
very busy person, I have the money and I have a matchmaker, why don't you help me filter and find this person if that person exists? Also, another motivation would be I want dating to be easier for me. So we help, because dating is tricky and confusing sometimes, takes a lot of time and money. So we help them make it easier, basically.
Yeah, and I think you're doing a really good service also for those. There's so many people who are having trouble with trying to find someone interesting. Like from the basis that we all have right now is online dating as well, when you're just swiping left like 90% of the
Yeah.
time. So it's very hard and it's easy to lose hope also. Like when you just keep swiping left, it's like, where is he? That kind of question comes up.
Although we've seen a lot of people also finding love in online dating, but I always like tell my clients like there are people who like online dating really works for them, but there are people who are so like amazing in person that
Mhm.
it does not translate in online dating. And so we feel like when you online date you have to talk to them for hours, for weeks, sometimes months before to meet. So we just want to cut that time, help the
Yeah.
client to filter, and just arrange you on a date. You guys discuss on a date because that's where real connection happens, when you meet in person.
That is true. And have you ever, though, during your matchmaking, in your matchmaking career, have you had matches that didn't work out? What was usually the common issue, though, if they didn't work out?
Of course, there like in the life of matchmaker, you will encounter a lot of those. So most of the common comments why it didn't work out. First is we didn't have spark. Second is sometimes they would say, "Oh, he's." When you see like the paper, oh, he's a professional. He does this. So paper wise, perfect, good. But when you really talk to them in person, they would say, he does not look interested. Like
Hmm.
she is checking her phone during like the date. So the excitement prior the date is there, but when they meet, because I understand them, because scientists have said it only takes 1 second for your brain to decide if the person is
Yeah.
attractive or not. So when they meet and their brain have already decided like this is not gonna work, then we don't give it a second chance anymore. So that's a lot also. But
Oh,
generally, just go on a second date, because on the first date they're not who they are because they're nervous. They're not their
yeah,
best.
that is true. I think second date should be like the benchmark, like to
Yeah.
determine.
True, true,
I
true.
totally agree. So, for all the monsters who are listening, who are watching live on Facebook or who are listening live on the radio, on Twitch, or on YouTube, I am speaking to Vanessa Antonio, or V, who is a U.S. certified matchmaker and a science-based dating coach. And we are about to get into that topic right now. So, with everything that modern dating is now, is it easier or is it harder to get a date these days than probably in the last decade? What do you think?
So right now it's very easy to meet people, but it's getting harder and harder to connect with them. Because like it's so, like you have the technology, you have a lot of events already. So it's easy to find people, but when you have not developed the skills to connect with them romantically, then it's gonna be very difficult to find someone, because that's where friend zoning happens.
Yeah.
That's where like the ghosting happens. So
Ghosting.
basically, yes, that's why since we're talking about the date coaching, basically what we're doing is we're coaching them because we want them to know what really works when it comes to dating. So there are people who feels like, I'm so ready, I'm so dateable, but when they actually enter the dating arena, they find themselves with no one. So our challenge is date as many as you can, know your market, and of course, develop the skill so that you will have more options when it comes to finding a partner.
I think may mga natamaan when you said parang you go in the dating pool and you find
Ikaw
no
ba
one.
yun, Nikki? Tinamaan ka ba?
Hindi naman.
Okay.
Slight, slight.
You haven't dated, you haven't dated for a while?
Oh my gosh. Well, no, I didn't actually. I wasn't active throughout the pandemic anyway. So I was like, play it safe, right? And I didn't want to kind of tempt myself, but I was focusing on myself also when I wasn't. So I wasn't exactly static in that sense. So, but yeah, I haven't been on a date in probably like, yeah, mga 2 years nga.
Oh my gosh, if there's anyone listening, if you guys are amazing, then you gotta
No, no.
slide into Nikki Porter's DM on Instagram, please.
Wait, this is not what Heard on Thursdays is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I
I'm
can't.
just kidding. I'm kidding. No problem. No problem though. So I like that you are you're like you're the full package. So you're a matchmaker and you're also coaching them so that they can be more marketable and more attractive to the people that you're trying to attract. So how did you come about, the whole science-based part of it? Was it included in the course or in your program for matchmaking, or was it something that you just found by yourself or through books?
Right. Although I have been exposed with two matchmakers who use science as a reference, I feel like if we want our clients to be successful, there's no really like best way, like best source to take those tips from. I mean, I could give you guys tips from my experiences, but my experiences are limited. I'm not even sure if those are correct, and so that's why I use scientists as a reference. I use them when it comes to citing dating tips because I feel like they know human behaviors better than I do. And so I always tell I'm like a what do you call that, the how do you call this? I'm the person who delivers their message in a more basic term because when you read these papers, these are really like complex. These are scientific papers. It's not fun to read, but I want to make it bite size. I want to make it very practical because that's how I learned also. When I was
Right.
doing my masters, like we have a lot of papers to read. I didn't enjoy that. I want to learn the practical applications of these things, and so that's
True.
what we're trying to do in Singles Events Manila.
So, singles events, Vanilla, it not only does it host singles parties online and offline, but it also teaches single people how to be better daters. So, how, or I think the question should be like, why should singles learn how to be better daters through science backed dating?
Because they should have options when it comes to choosing a romantic partner. When we don't work on ourselves or we don't work on our social skills, then we will just attract people who I feel like you will attract less quality people compared to when you improve yourself, when you work on yourself, then you have like better options. And I know that you, like all of you guys who's watching, who's listening, you want the best person for you, the best fit person for you. And I feel like your parents will be very, very sad when you end up with someone who's not going to be good for you. And
Mm.
so we've always encouraged singles to learn, like it's good to listen advice from your friends and from your relatives, from your grandparents, but balance it with advice that actually works. These are the tips that worked for some people. It might
Mhm.
not 100% work for you, but when you try it, you will be able to, you should adapt those that are working and drop those dating styles that are not anymore applicable at the moment.
All right. And we are going to get into a bit of those dating styles later, probably like some rules that a lot of us have grown up trying to live through and hasn't really worked. But for now, though, could you tell us scientifically what should women remember about men and what should men remember about women when it comes to dating?
So there's one thing that I want both men and women to understand, and that is we think differently. Men and women think differently when it comes to choosing a partner, when it comes to seeing what's attractive, what's not. So they have very, very different um, benchmarks as well.
Yeah, for sure. And if monsters, if you guys are tuned in, you can definitely throw in those questions over on the comment section on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitch. Or you could also message me on the monster text line 0961 if you have any dating questions. Who better to answer these dating questions than a dating coach? A science-based dating coach, a US certified matchmaker, that is Vanessa Antonio. So let's now move on to dating etiquette. So we mentioned about having a list of standards when we're trying to look for a particular partner. So what are the important things to remember now, like for a more realistic list? What are the important things to remember in terms of standards in a particular partner?
So when it comes to standards and lists, first things first, although we have heard, people telling us don't make a list because usually you end up with someone who does not fit those lists. But based on our experiences and even science suggests that's not true. When you actually make a list, you don't get all 10, but you get like four, five of them, six of them. So basically, when you put that down in papers, you are likely to remember it. You are likely to keep yourself, you keep yourself more responsible or more, focus on that list. So if you have a list, that's okay. Keep it with you because you have a reason. That's why those lists are there, those values are there. Sometimes we tend to bend it when we meet someone that we really really that we are really really attracted with, but by the end of the day, like, people would say, opposite attracts really works. But when you look at studies, it's the people who have similar values, similar personalities that tend to last longer in relationships.
Mm, okay. And in terms of, you said with similar personalities, do you also rely on like the different, like the MBTI or those different kinds of personalities so that people can find out if they're identical?
Well, wow, like there are a lot of psychological tests that we could actually use to our clients, but the way that we do it is that personality test is just one aspect of the many things that we look at when you are matchmaking people. So you have lifestyle, you have previous dating habits. Like, are you the person, like, based on your past? That's why it's very important that we ask about, like, what went wrong or what worked in the past. Like, what is your
Right.
dating pattern? Are you the person who usually cheats or ends up cheating even if you don't? Are you the person who ends up, giving up your life for the significant other? Because I believe human beings have patterns, and even if we try to change, we have a lot of attitudes that remain consistent all throughout our lifetime. So learning the history patterns of the dating patterns based on history, that's one. Their lifestyle as well, of course. The psychological test, I mean, we can do that, but we summarize it in asking, like, what is your priority in life? Is it like family? Is it fitness? Is it money? Or is it
Hmm.
some other things? Because by the end of the day, if, like, even if we click physically, if our priorities are different, like, I want to do well in life, but you want to, like, go enjoy life, so it might be two different things, so we don't end up, like, in the long term. So basically, that psychological test is just one, and I feel like there are also a lot of more important things to consider when you're matching couples.
Do you also prioritize like the love languages? Because I always read like you have to know this person's love language so you know how to love them better. What is your take in terms of love languages?
That's true. So when it comes to love languages, you don't have to match in your love language, but you have to understand what's the love language of the other person. Why?
Mhm.
Because the main goal, that's why you're finding a partner. And if you want to be a good lover, your main goal is to make that other person feel important. And so, how will you make them feel important? But to know their love language. I mean, if my love language is spending time and yours is gift, we don't have, like, we can be together forever even if we have different love languages, right? But in order to be successful, in order to love each other and make each other feel love, we have to understand what are the differences of our love languages and just keep
Mhm.
it in mind.
I love how you're how like the whole like profile that you have to go through for a particular person who wants to look for a partner. It's so in depth. It's almost like you're talking to a therapist. Parang you have to uncover the trauma that comes in dating. But I think it's also good. It enlightens the person that okay, I do have this pattern turns out, and so helps them learn how to probably break it in the process, which is
Yeah.
great.
So when we have someone like in coaching for the first time, we start with SWOT analysis. Like,
Wow.
right? It's so
Oh my
basic.
gosh.
But I mean, I feel like it's very important because, like, do you know, like, which part of your skills you're good at when it comes to dating? Are you good in flirting? Are you bad in flirting? Like, what are your strengths? Like, are you confident? What are your weaknesses? Do you tend to fall in love immediately? So being so self-aware is so important so that when you enter the dating scene, like, I'm not gonna do that because I know that's my weakness. Oh, I'm gonna be aware because I know I have the tendency to do this. You are so much smarter than having no idea about your strengths and weaknesses when it comes to dating. So we take dating seriously, really.
Yeah, and there are people who also make fun of people who take dating seriously, but and just have fun with it. But it's true, like you do have a mission that you want to accomplish in dating, which is to find somebody, hopefully, who sticks around for you. So yeah, I love the approach. SWOT analysis. Who knew? Who knew that it had a real life application in dating? It's
Yeah.
amazing. So now I want to know, for all the singles who are interested in a serious relationship, of course you're not even after this interview you start swiping and you start dating, it's going to be that one person immediately. It's going to take some time. So what do you think is the best mindset for singles to have while they're actively dating?
All right. So mindsets is also part of the things that we teach. And the top two mindset that I'd like to share is, first, when you go out on a date, don't think about it as if he or she is your first and last. Because if you do, like, you will put so much pressure in your head, you're not gonna be yourself. You're gonna be so nervous, you will not be able to enjoy your date. So the second mindset will be, when you're going on a date, have a mission. You're not just going there to get drunk or eat, have free stuff, free meals, but you have a mission. Your mission is to actually look at that person in front of you and ask yourself, is this the person that I want to end up with? Is this the person that I want to, keep seeing? And
Right.
is this the person who I will allow to influence my life? Because they say, one of the two important business decisions that you will make in your life is, who you marry. And
Yeah.
so when you have those kind of mission, you're not like a what's that, like a wrecking ball, like you just hit, like you go out with no mission at all. It's so good to have a mission, because you also become more rational in picking a partner. And I feel like, like, if you end up with the wrong partner, you are gonna have a very difficult life.
Yeah, and I hope monsters are picking up notes also and tips from our US certified matchmaker and science-based dating coach, because I'm learning a lot and I'm kind of like internalizing what I need to work on also. So for all the monsters, yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and hit us up on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook, in the comment section. Now I also want to know, what's the best method? It is Women's Month, and I do want to take some time to actually try and come up with questions that are that put women first, at least in terms of dating. So, what do you think is the best method as a woman to ask a guy out?
Wow, what is the best method for a woman to ask the guy out? First, I'd like to speak to our women directly. Like, if they tell you that women should not take the lead, that's not true. I mean, there's a lot of, I particularly like this story, which, the story that I've heard from one of the preachers, and they said, back in the day, they said our grandparents have this handkerchief, and when they like someone, they drop it, and then the
Yeah.
man picks it up, and then the man returns, and so they've already broken the ice, they could start talking. And I was like, so who initiated the interaction? Was it the men? No, it was you. So women, you are so powerful when it comes to dating, but we have to learn the subtle approach, because
Okay.
by the end of the day, like, evolutionary have told us that men wants to, take the lead. They want to feel as if they're the one, it's their idea. And so we could actually take advantage of that, not to feel like, oh, we're so, inferior because we're just gonna wait. You are so powerful. You can initiate, but in a subtle way. You just have to learn the art of subtly dropping hints and not being desperate. Just still keeping your class, but also expressing yourself. Because if you like someone, maybe that's you're the one. So you also have the right to choose and the freedom to go after who you like.
Coach V, pa-example naman. For those who are listening, para at least they have an idea.
Sure, sure. So, for example, you are in a bar and you've seen someone that you like. Instead of, going to that guy and say, like, hi, I'm like Vanessa, why don't you, for example, like go beside wherever they're sitting, or if it's a line, you could ask for a favor from that person. Why am I encouraging people to ask for a favor? Because we have this favorite theory. It says Benjamin Franklin effect, and so the theory states that when you ask for small favors from people, they tend to actually like you because the brain justifies your help. I mean, why
Yeah.
why did you help that person? I mean, I must have, I like that person maybe. So when you're in a bar, instead of introducing yourself, you could ask for a favor like, "Hi, do you mind handing me that glass?" Or, "Hi, do you mind holding the seat for me? I just have to go to the restroom." And so when you get back and you talk to them, the guy will think, "Oh, this girl is talking to me because I've done her a favor. I've held the seat for her, not because she wants me." So that's very subtle. You started a conversation, you ask for a favor.
Asking for favors. Wow.
Favors.
That is the opening. That is the opening that we need to learn.
Yeah. If you're a
Awesome.
very shy person and you don't see yourself approaching people, the easiest way wherein they don't have to think about like what is the intention of this person, so you're not creepy. Even for guys, you could ask for help, as long as it's a small favor.
All right. I hope you guys are taking notes. While you're not in a relationship and you are actively dating, I also want to know, especially for women, because I think there's also a stigma. Uh, is it okay? And I want them to hear it from a dating coach as well. Is it okay to date more than one person at a time when you're not in a relationship?
Definitely, yes. We encourage you to do that because you are dating, you're not in an exclusive relationship. It's just like, again, you have the freedom to choose, and your single life is very limited. Once you choose someone and you get married and you stick with that person, I mean, it's the end of the choosing game. So while you can still choose and choose the best for you.
And so when you're getting to know someone also, so let's say you're dating someone and you're dating other people also, but when do you think is the right time to, at the very least, have the first kiss?
Oh, all right. So since we're talking about kiss, it's much the gravity of that is much lighter than sleeping with a date. And so
Hmm.
when we're talking about a kiss, I feel like you could have like a your kiss on like third, or definitely not on the first date. You might want to hold that, because you wouldn't know if that person, if you're gonna see that person again. And so if you wanna just hook up and just end the night with someone on your bed, then go kiss them on the first date. But if you want to see the person again, please hold that at least for the third date, so you also have something to look forward to. And again, when you're a little bit mysterious, a little bit, the curiosity of the person is part of the seduction and attraction. And so, yeah, if you could hold it, the better.
Hold it until at least the
Until you
third
get
date.
there. Yes, yes.
A
Or
little
until,
patience
yes.
goes a long way. For all the
Yes.
monsters who tuned in, it is heard on Thursdays. You got me, Nikki, and Vanessa Antonio, a U.S. certified matchmaker and a science-based dating coach. Learning so much, and I love the comment section. They're learning as well. So, in terms of dating expectations, so of course, when you meet somebody, they can say whatever it is on their dating profile. They can say they want a relationship. They can say they don't know yet. They want something casual. But just to reiterate, when is it appropriate to tell the person you're dating the expectations that you want out of dating this particular person?
Definitely not on the first date.
Okay, noted.
So we have been hearing people like, you gotta lay down your cards on the first date so you don't waste time. I mean, Please no, because the goal of a first date is to actually check if you are able to have fun, if you're able to share laughter together. And I've been sharing it 100 of times, but I keep on referring to this this study made in MIT University, wherein they were able to predict which daters will go on a second date by just listening to the pitch of their voices. So those daters who keeps on laughing during their first date, these are the people who've seen each other again. And so when you have that kind of reference, then you would understand that it makes sense that you have fun on a first date. Because if you've had so much, you have great time, you tend to like to see the person again compared to, all you do is just, these are my negotiables, these are my non-negotiables.
Mhm.
I have to be married at this age. I'm just looking for. So please devote your first date into finding out if you guys are able to have fun together, make really fun memories, because these are the people who have been working also. All of like a lot of us are tired from working, and when we go on a date, that's not a job interview. That's not
Right.
that's not a place where you will have to do a story tell of your sad experiences. I mean, you're supposed to create good memories, happy memories with that person, because you want to be relaxed when you're on a date. So, yeah, hold the preferences and non-negotiables later on, because you will, when you actually find out that the person is worth sharing a little bit more about you, then it will come naturally.
So there's no specific time frame, but is there like a safe zone on when you can actually bring it up, just so at least people will have an idea of a window?
All right, sure. So a lot of us connects with people differently, right? So it's possible, like they say that your temperament as a child, when you were a baby, psychologists have said, if you're a baby who's clingy, like who keeps on crying when your parents is not there, you tend to bring that when you're older and when you're dating. And so if you're a person who's slow to warm up, then it might take like 3 to 5 dates before you start opening up what you really really feel. But I feel like the first date and the second date has to be devoted in not talking about the exes, not talking about your issues, but really just finding out, like, if you guys are able to laugh together and if you are excited to actually be with each other. So it starts with that. So definitely not on first and second date. And then later on, if you feel so emotionally connected, that's the gauge. If you feel emotionally connected and you trust that person, then maybe that's the time.
All right. Okay. And so now that we're dating, or let's say at the start of dating, dated this person once or twice already,
Mhm.
what do you think about these existing dating rules and the mind games when it comes to dating? What are like, I don't know, what's the top or the top three rules that you should not follow? It just has no basis.
Right. Okay. So first is it's a bad idea to date multiple people at the same time when you're single. So just like what we've mentioned a while ago, if you're single, do not waste your time waiting for that person's text. If you
Mm,
can actually go out there and meet new fishes in the sea, because again, your single life is limited. Make the most out of it. so
true.
yeah, that's one. I mean, people who might be like moralistic might, might disagree, but I feel
Mhm.
like you also have to look after yourself and your future. And so
Of
again,
course.
you only have that one chance to choose a partner. And so take advantage of that. All right. And then what are the other dating tips that we keep on hearing that we feel, oh, the movie dates. Like when
Movie
you,
date.
yeah, the first date, like you go on movie dates, I feel like that's a wasted opportunity to truly connect with the person that you like, unless your goal is to just be chancing. I mean, you can
Yeah.
do that,
Holding hands.
holding hands like that. But what's the point of connecting physically when you have not really established the emotional connection yet? So
Mm.
it's going to be a very shallow kind of partnership. So if you're a person who's really who wants to find their person, they're the one, then you want to be able to connect with them emotionally first. Like, are you able to talk about deep conversations, or you're like, let's just get this over with. Ganyan. So instead of movie dates, I highly suggest doing a adrenaline packed activities. Like go.
Oh,
I remember my husband during our third date, he invited me to do a what's that, a firing,
on
and
the
I feel
firing
like
range.
firing range, and I feel like that's really good because we were able to interact, we were able to praise each other, like, you hit the right spot. So like there's a lot of beautiful and wonderful exchanges that could happen compared to just when you guys are just watching movies.
True. I totally agree. And yeah, I totally agree also with the adrenaline. Any fun activity and I think that you both enjoy or both curious about. That's
Yeah.
actually one of my go-tos before, I don't know now.
Really?
Oh
Like,
my
what are the address? Like, for example, Nikki is about to go on a date. Like, where would you want to go, or where would you wanna? What would you want to do?
Um, amusement park. Well, I mean, before when I used to live in the States, I was near an amusement park, and that would always that was my dating spot.
Yeah.
That's where I
Okay.
would take them.
All right.
But it's fun because you have something to do, or even an arcade also, because it brings out the competitiveness between the two of you
Mhm.
guys and kind of
Yeah,
gets a little exciting. Also plays with the feelings. Also, like you can
that's
also flirt, I guess, in terms of being competitive.
that's
So
true.
so I guess I was on the right track.
Yes, yes. You are,
All
Nikki.
right. All right. Okay. That makes me happy. Okay. So now let's in terms of the movies, it's a no for first dates. But
Yes.
if it's not adrenaline activities, if it doesn't, inspire like competitiveness, if it's not an arcade or amusement park, is there another ideal first date that people can go? What is it? What could it be?
Right. So when we look at our bodies, our physiologically speaking, when we are falling in love or when we are dating, our bodies are relaxed. And so when you are full of tension, when there's so much noise in the environment, it's very difficult to have that, flirting moment or to have that romantic connection. And so if you don't want adrenaline packed dates, we highly suggest taking them somewhere where you feel relaxed or powerful, such
Mm.
as rooftop dates. We love rooftop dates
Oh,
to be expensive, but just take them somewhere like, a little bit elevated where you get to see the city, the lights. Is so romantic, it's so relaxing, and it makes you feel like confident. I don't know what's up with rooftop, but you feel so powerful when you're like up there. And so we highly recommend rooftop dates as well.
I can imagine the search engines blowing off right now. Rooftop bars in Manila to
Yeah,
go on dates. Love
make
it.
you feel happy.
In terms of online dating, you mentioned that there have been success stories also, but I guess scientifically, I also want to know like how effective is it?
The online dating.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, online dating is actually very good for people who are good in communication, who are able to express how they feel in words, and of course, I mean, basic communication skills. Like, for example, you want to end up with someone who's like intelligent, someone who is so creative and so awesome. Then you just imagine, like, if, for example, I would like to end up with Ivana Alawi, for example, I'm a guy, right? So the way to go about it is like, let me think, what kind of man would Ivana Alawi like? Right? Or if I want to end up with, for example, who's the other guy? Like Joshua, who's that guy? Joshua, the
Joshua
celebrity
Garcia.
Garcia. So what kind of woman would Joshua Garcia would like? And the next question is, can I be that person, or do
Mm.
you I feel like I am that person. And so when you think about that way, when you look at it that way, then you become more realistic when it comes to, who you want to end up with. And then at the same time, if for example you fell in love with your workmate, with your office mate, if you kind of know their type, then you have a winning point compared to when you are clueless about their personality or about who are the people they tend to fall in love with. That's where research is important. So
Mm.
we do research in school so that we get good grades. We do studying because we want to be promoted. But how come we're not doing the same method in developing our skills when it comes to dating? It will be a wasted opportunity. And by the end of the day, when people are in their deathbed, science have found that that your indicator of happiness is actually like a lot of it is your experiences in your family life. So imagine if you're not very happy in your family life, then your lifetime, oh my god, that's so sad. So yeah, that's why I feel like studying dating will actually put you in a better position, and that will lessen also the regrets when you get older.
All right, that is actually a really profound answer to that. And thank you. So and I want to ask this question just for the for the fun of it. So we're talking about online dating, right? And if you are familiar with like the interface of Tinder, of Bumble, if there was one feature as a matchmaker, as a dating coach, if there was one feature in those apps that you think they should add to the profile of matches, what would it be so that there could be some accuracy or make it more efficient in terms of their date searches?
I thought about this once before, but I forgot. But I think this is a really good question because it also gives us an opportunity to hopefully, like, maybe some apps have actually have this feature already, but this is like a thing that we could work on eventually. Let me recall, when we're doing dating apps for clients, we feel like dating apps would be so much better if we have more flexibility when it comes to knowing their backgrounds. So
Mm,
maybe not just like informations, but maybe show another aspect of the other person's life. For example, like when you open the dating app, like, oh, I want to see his social life. So you have a category for that. I want to see his work life. You have a category for that. I want to see his family life. You have a category for that. Because I feel like it will be much more holistic, and it also, because like it would be our brains, we tend to grasp information when they're like organized, right? So we are able to do rational choices and balance like who to reply and who to delete in our
mhm.
in our apps when you have that kind of category.
Yeah, and you can weed out all the rest as well from the pool that you have.
Like for
Definitely.
example, like, oh, not very close with their family members, so I want a family man. So
Yeah,
yeah, so something like
definitely. That's true. We should call Tinder or or Bumble and
that.
talk about these upgrades.
Yes.
So during when you're online dating and you're swiping, it's exciting when you get like the notification that it's a match or like you have a new match or something. Is there such thing in real life of a perfect match?
Oh, so this is where we touch on. I feel like we're touching on the science of love. And so, if I want to be dreamy, and if Vanessa Antonio, when she was in high school, would answer this question, I'm gonna say yes. But studying dating, studying love, I've actually learned that, of course, unfortunately, it's not about like butterflies and flowers and chocolates. But those who are successful in love, these are actually the people who have an idea how to make it work and what are the things to avoid. So when we're talking about science of love, scientists have suggested that, for example, you've had fights with your partner. I mean, fights are not dangerous in relationships. I mean, it exists. But what's important is you have more good memories than fights. Because if your
Right.
relationship has been filled with fights, then you will definitely, by the end of the day, when you look back, like, I couldn't remember a good memory with this person. And you deserve to end up with someone who you could, make good memories and be happy in your life. So there's no perfect match, but you could actually make that person with you a perfect match if you know the skills to keep love.
Oh, all right. I want to learn, but anyway, we're nearing the end. We're nearing the end of the show, and I feel like there's like just so much more to learn. And I think that's where Singles Events Manila comes in as well. But I'm reaching to the last few questions of Heard on Thursdays. What are your tips when it comes to flirting, at least when for women and for men, since we do think differently? I feel like their approach in flirting would be different as well, and a lot of us are like, how do we even do that? Or like, are our flirting skills even any good? So what are the tips when it comes to flirting as a woman and as a man?
Right. So in your introduction, you've mentioned that Singles Events Manila teaches science of flirting, and yes, we do. We have specific tips like what to do, and we don't just say what to do. Like, what is the scientific reason behind it, right? So, but I'm not gonna go through that right now. But I feel like there's this thing that once you master this, once you do very well in this, flirting skills comes naturally, and that would be your level of confidence. So if you're a person who have a higher self-esteem and you have a true confidence, like, you're not going to be afraid to show the person your interest. And so even if you're the most beautiful girl in the room, when you don't have the confidence, you're not going to flirt. You're not going to express how you like other people. And so if you want to be a good flirt, start with, again, yourself, build your self-esteem, do challenges in your life, join competition. Like, you have to believe that you are a catch. And so when you find someone that you really like, you are more confident to go after that person because you're confident and you know you're a catch.
All right. Okay. We are a catch. And I hope a lot of the monsters, after listening with for Heard on Thursdays tonight, I hope you guys believe that you are and that you will find your match and make them perfect for you. Oh, I love
Oh,
it. I love it. And so this actually ends. It's like I don't want it to end, but oh my gosh, we are over time a little bit. But I had so much fun talking to you, V, about dating and matchmaking and just how to be a better dater. And I hope monsters have also learned how to be better daters themselves and not to what's this? I guess to have what you call these standards and non-negotiables, and to have better, I guess, etiquette when it comes to dating. So thank you so much, V, for sticking around and telling us how to date with science-backed data and how to find our match and just how to love. Period.
yeah.
Is there anything that you want, any messages or who you want to say hi to who's listening right now? And you can also invite monsters to join Singles Events Manila. Go ahead.
Yes, and of course, hello to everyone who's watching, are the members of our club. Thank you so much. I could see your comments right now. Also, we have friends from the Bicol region, so hello. Thank you
Ooh,
also for
hello.
watching. Yeah, Nikki, I think I'd like to be able to leave with this final message to all of the singles who may be listening right now, and to those who are listening, who's gonna listen in the future. If you think dating is hard, then please reach out to us. Because our goal is to make dating exciting for you. You're the person who's going to tell me, like, Coach V, I want to go on a date already. So if you don't have that kind of mindset, please do your research if you don't want to work with a coach. But if you want dating to be easier for you, reach out to us in Singles Events Manila, because we have been serving singles for more than 7 years now, and we want to be able to help a lot of single people, not just to find love, but for you to develop into the person who you don't find dating intimidating already, but exciting. So I'm on Instagram as well. My handle is Date Coach V. Thank you for that, for the banners. And my company is Singles Events Manila. We do matchmaking, coaching, and of course, if you just want to meet single friends, we have a social club for that. Nikki, thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, it
And
was such a pleasure.
okay, and I've had a lot of fun with you as well.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I learned so much. I'm taking notes. I'm going to start swiping tonight. No, I'm just kidding. It's too late. 12
Tomorrow.
midnight. What am I doing? Yeah, tomorrow na lang, tomorrow na lang. But for everybody else tuned in live on Facebook, Twitch, on YouTube, or tuned into the radio, this has been heard on Thursdays. Keep it locked and tune in always only here